Once upon a time, in a little village on the edge of a dense forest, there lived a sweet young girl called Little Red Riding Hood. She was called so because she wore a bright red hooded cloak that her grandmother had sewn for her. Her grandmother was her favorite person in the whole world, and Little Red loved visiting her. One sunny morning, Little Red's mother asked her to take a basket of fresh bread, butter, and jam to her grandmother, who wasn't feeling well. "Stay on the path," her mother warned. "Don't talk to strangers and go straight to grandmother's house." Little Red smiled and promised to be careful.
With the basket in hand, she skipped happily into the forest path. Flowers bloomed and birds chirped sweetly. The woods felt like a magical place. But deeper in the forest, someone was watching her. A cunning wolf with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind spotted Little Red and her basket of treats. He licked his lips and stepped onto the path with a sly grin. "Good morning, little girl," said the wolf in a friendly tone. "Where are you off to on such a lovely day?" Little Red stopped and gave a polite smile. "I'm going to visit my grandmother in the forest," Little Red Riding Hood said. The wolf's ears perked up. He pretended to be curious and asked, "And where does your dear grandmother live?" Little Red hesitated. She remembered her mother's warning, but the wolf didn't seem scary at all. He had such a warm smile. So she explained, "She lives in the little cottage just past the big oak tree. It's right at the top of the hill." The wolf's grin grew wider. "What a kind granddaughter you are," he said. "Well, I won't delay you any further. Do enjoy your walk." With that, the wolf turned and disappeared into the shadows of the trees. Little Red continued down the path, admiring the wildflowers and singing as she went. She didn't know it, but the wolf was much faster than her, and he already knew a shortcut to grandmother's house. When the wolf arrived at the cottage, he tapped politely on the door. "Who's there?" called grandmother's voice. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood, come to bring you a basket of goodies," the wolf replied in his best imitation of a little girl's voice. "Oh, how sweet! Come in, dear," said the grandmother. But as soon as the door opened, the wolf pounced. Poor grandmother barely had time to react before the wolf locked her up in a big wooden closet. The wolf then pulled on one of grandmother's nightgowns and her frilly sleeping cap. He climbed into bed, pulled the blanket up to his chin, and waited. Not long after, Little Red Riding Hood finally arrived. She knocked lightly on the door. "Who's there?" called the wolf, trying to sound like the grandmother. "It's me, Grandma, Little Red Riding Hood." "Come in, my dear," said the wolf. Little Red opened the door and stepped inside. She saw her grandmother lying in bed, but something seemed off. "Oh, Grandma," she said, setting her basket on the table, "what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with, my dear," the wolf replied. "And Grandma, what big eyes you have." "All the better to see you with," the wolf said, flashing a toothy grin. "But Grandma, what big teeth you have," Little Red said, stepping back. "All the better to eat you with," roared the wolf, throwing off the blanket and leaping out of bed. Little Red screamed and darted toward the door, but the wolf was too quick. Just as he was about to grab her, there was a loud crash at the door. A woodcutter from the village had heard Little Red's screams and burst into the room, his axe in hand. "Stay away from her," the woodcutter shouted. The wolf, realizing he was no match for the tall, strong man, tried to escape, but he tripped over grandmother's nightgown and tumbled to the floor. In no time, the woodcutter had tied the wolf up. Little Red pointed him to the closet, where her grandmother was rescued, unharmed but shaken. "Thank you, kind sir," said the grandmother, smiling with relief. Little Red hugged her tightly. "I'm so glad you're safe, Grandma." The wolf was taken far, far away and never troubled anyone again. As for Little Red, she learned her lesson about talking to strangers and was always extra careful on her walks through the forest. And so Grandmother Little Red Riding Hood and all the kind folks of the village lived happily ever after. The end.